Hey everyone, we've got a cool 20 Comet game for you guys. Pretty unique showing with some cool books, honestly. Look at this, Comet Ritual and Ritual. So, ends up with an absolutely insane ending. So, this is a bit of a longer one, but hope you guys stay tuned for the ending. Don't just skip, I want you guys to hang out and see what ends up happening. And also I can explain a bit about these books and like what the strategy is behind them. So Comet, basically you're stalling out until the Arma and saying, okay, I'm gonna hide and build up an advantage while I'm hiding, and just let the Comets whittle away at the map and at the opponent. So what you've got here is basically QArc saying, I'm gonna teleport away turn 1 and just dig into the map and try to create a nice hidey hole to protect from Comets. Wayward is saying the same thing, I'm gonna teleport away, try to create a hidey hole for myself and protect from Comets. So the game continues. He also has Whisper Bomb, so he wants to threaten some damage, kill the Blood Bank, which is awesome, and he also zones out players with the Swarm. Wayward has Swarm as well, he's going to try to zone out QArc, QArc's going to try to zone out Wayward. So, he's got Ritual Book, so he's going to empower Devil's Snare, it's going to do 25 health, 25 damage for each snare that's out there. Wayward's a little nervous, so he's going to Whisper Bomb over to the left, and the game continues. Just going to Frost Giant Smash all the way over to Wayward. Wayward's going to bring some snares out, and we'll see kind of how this progresses. At some point, because it is a pretty long game, I may fast forward through a few of these turns, but for now, they are pretty quick. This is 20 Comets, so I don't think it'll take that long, to be honest. It's not like we're sitting through a 60 turn 60 cheat, right? So Wayward snares are starting to whittle away at QArc's Giant there. He goes for the Whisper Bomb again and just sets up a snare. Just pretty much like one click, point and click gameplay that we're seeing. Although some nice Whisper Bombs from Wayward. He's able to apply some pressure. But, I mean, I'd be lying if I said that QArc was in any real trouble, right? He's still got cover from Comets, he's got Tower, he's got a Blood Bank that he can bring out on rotation, he's got his own Snare that he can bring out to kind of discourage Wayward from coming to him. So, yeah. Both of these guys have pretty similar books. And you're thinking, okay, so what's their win con? Well, they're hoping that with snares they can zone the other player out of the best hiding spot, and also each of these players has a Blood Bank up at all times. If one of the players gets caught with their Blood Bank dead, the other player can snowball spam them and get a bunch of healing while they're spammed, leading likely to a win. So, there's still a win con, it's not completely dry and boring gameplay. It's just a little bit slow in terms of how they're making progress, and they gotta wait for the Comets to do exactly this. Destroy all the land. And that's exactly what QArc is doing too, using his own Comet to destroy land. You think, oh, well, why doesn't he use his Comet for something more useful? Well, there's nothing more useful to use it for, so you use it anyway, just to do what you can. And the Comets do destroy quite a bit of land, not as much as Fisher or anything like that. So QArc decides to relocate here. An interesting play. I think that he's a little bit concerned about drone damage, and if he summons a Blood Bank where he's at right now, it'll just get killed by the drone, and then he's kind of in an awkward position. So he's saying, you know, I can teleport away, I've got my own ice castle, and I'll just tower up, bring out my Blood Bank again, the drone can't really get to me, and I think I'm closer to the middle of the map, so the Comets are going to get to Wayward before me. That's what he's thinking. So Wayward says, yep, I agree, I need to apply some pressure, maybe teleport to him, drop a snare down, and he just teleported so he can't do shit about that. So Wayward's going to place his drone to maybe help protect from Comet, place his Blood Bank in a good spot, and drop the snare down. And this is Ritual Snare, so it's going to do quite a bit of damage. Now Q-Arc's still okay. He's obviously going to stay in his tower, otherwise he would be taking a lot of damage. Up to 50 next turn, and then up to 75 the following turn. And he says, you know what? I am just going to do the same thing. Bring out my own swarm, and discourage Wayward from coming into this little middle of the map area. And Wayward says, you know, this is not really gonna... They're not gonna travel up. I'm okay. I'm just gonna tower. And here, Q-Arc's hoping to get lucky with the snare placement, or have the Frost Giant absorb the snares. And it did. It absorbed 60 damage of snares for him. And, ooh, that was a nice sink by Wayward there. He's having some great Whisper Bomb lobs. So, pretty sick. And also the Sylph, I thought maybe had walked on that area, but maybe Q-Arc could have done that to prevent the sink. But, you know, hindsight's 20/20. It's really hard to think of that, especially it's 20 seconds. I mean, how are you going to think of something like that and have the time for it? It's just unrealistic. So now he's kind of back in the driver's seat. He's got a drone to whittle him down to 150. But then again, Q can just tower back up, get a bank out. He's also got mushrooms, which are going to provide him with a bunch of healing. So these types of books, they have a shit ton of healing. They got mushrooms, you got blood bank and snowball, which does like, I don't know, 50 heal sometimes, it seems. And then if your blood bank is killed from 40 to 0, it does 60 healing. So yeah, lots of healing potential. Here Wayward again says, okay, he's down to 150. Of course he mushroomed and he has a bank out, but I want to pressure him. And also my snare is ritualed, so if Q tellies, then I've got some turns to apply pressure. And Q says, you know, anything you can do, I can do better. So I'm going to myself bring out my own snare, and it's just about dodging snares at this point, getting kind of lucky. He might choose to just... Oh, he goes for the... I'm not sure I agree with that move. I would probably have gone with the drone to hit him. Maybe gone on top of Q, on top of his tower, and droned him, but, you know, a bit of a difficult call to make there. Especially since the snares are just hitting Wayward on his turn, hitting Q on his turn. And it's more about RNG, like just where the snare ends up. So they're still going back and forth, and both of their blood banks are up, it looks like. Another thing that I think Wayward should learn or focus more on is maybe save the mushrooms, because if your bank dies, you can always just bring out another one. Unfortunately, that Whisper Bomb didn't go his way, but he's still okay. He can just re-tower up. Or maybe, I would argue Snare is good here. He goes for the drone instead. I think Snare would have been a bit better. Just because it provides some sustained damage over several turns. And it's weird, they all of a sudden decide to not attack each other. They're just setting up again. Which I find kind of funny. But Wayward actually gets the snare off this time, which I think is a good move. Again, if Q gets detowered, he's going to be in some trouble. Same with Wayward, of course, since they both have snares out, so they both have to be careful. Towering out is a good option here, but instead of that, he goes for the drone. Not sure I agree with that move, but he really only took 30 damage from the snare. It hit the drone. So, dodged a bit of a bullet. Here they're kind of dodging each other, just barely. And he does use another mushroom on the minion, which we talked about that before. Just save those. Like, you don't need to mushroom the minion, just, you know, Q doesn't have any BFTP or anything like that. The Comet's not going to hit the drone from down there. So just Whisper Arrow and save your mushroom. So Wayward applying some pretty awesome pressure here. And if you made it this far, guys, trust me, the ending is epic, so you gotta stay tuned. We're getting closer to the ending. Halfway done with the game at this point. Assuming it goes full 60, which it doesn't quite go the full 60. This game does end, guys. It's not a draw. I learned early on in my art career, don't really focus on submitting any commentaries that are for draws. It's not really that great of gameplay. People like to see wins, right? So, yeah, Wayward kills his own bank, brings out another one. He's just gonna get some health. Q-Arc offers up the draw just because, well, what have they been really doing for the last 30 turns? The answer is pretty much nothing. You know, sometimes games feel like that. But all of a sudden, at some point, in 2 or 3 turns, it can lead to a win. So, we'll see if that ends up happening with this game. But Q-Arc's got the draw up, and if I'm Wayward, I take it. Just because he's now out of mushrooms, he used another mushroom on a drone. Again, you don't need to do that. Just because if it dies, you can bring out another one. If Q-Arc takes a turn to kill it, then that's awesome. He actually brings his drone out and then brings it back. So he mushrooms his drone and then he Qs, which is just tragic. Is it losing? No, it just gives Q a little bit more time to set up. Of course, he still has the draw up because he's just done with this game. He's like, ugh, I just want to leave. I want to go sleep, or, you know, go to the gym, do whatever he needs to do. So, now, again, if I'm in Wayward's position, I take this draw, just because I don't feel like I can really make that much progress. And maybe he's saying, you know, I still have commune up. I can pressure with the drone. And Q is in a more vulnerable position than I am, so I'm going to not take the draw. So that's fair. But I would just be too bored. I would be too bored to play this out. And you can still lose this, right? So it's not like Wayward is in a commanding enough position that he should not consider this draw whatsoever. But also, if Wayward offered the draw, I would take it as Q as well, because he's in a slightly worse position, I think. Map-wise, and location-wise, and also just minion-wise, because his minions can't really get to Wayward. So he just says, you know, I really don't have anything to do. I'm going to act like I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to go back to my spot and tower. So, riveting gameplay, as you can see, which, you know, it, again, kind of makes me think, just accept the draw, Wayward. Come on, bud. Like, what are you waiting for? We all want to just, you know, move on with our lives. Okay, Empower Strike there and gets a Comet off, and maybe Q is gaining some confidence. Maybe he's going to remove the draw at some point. Wayward gave him a free Comet. Oh yeah, and he removes the draw now. He's like, oh, I got him. I got him rattled. He's not paying attention. So, we'll see kind of what Q's plan is here now. He's going to bring a Sylph out and apply some pressure with the 50 damage arrow, I guess. I guess he could arrow the minions, the drone, if he wants. Feels kind of weird though. I mean, he doesn't really have to deal with the drone. But if he can get the Sylph all the way up, he doesn't have to, like, aim the arrow awkwardly. He can just, you know, do it straight on, which he does here. Yeah, okay, so that's a good play. He gets the Sylph real close, guarantees the kill, and the game continues, right? So, Wayward's going to bring out his commune. Again, it splits the damage between the minions and himself. The more health his minions have, the less damage he'll take. He goes for a giant leap here and just decides to snare. Zone Q-Arc out of this hole. But that's risky. It puts him in giant risk of a Comet. He could just get Cometed for like 200 right here. But he's thinking, you know what? I am going to just go all out. Which is a fine play. And it pays off okay. Forces Q to relocate, but that's actually a fine spot. So he gets the spot back in the middle, but I think this spot on the side is better because it's providing more protection from a Comet. So hard to say. Wayward ultimately decides to gate 2. I think that's a great play. Why is it a great play? Well, he's applying pressure to Q. He's also improving his position. And now he can snare. Q will probably respond with his own snare to zone Wayward out of his spot down there. discourage him from coming down and maybe getting more cover. Wayward's just going for the rush, the Whisper Bomb. I probably would have snared there instead. But he's saying, now if I snare, he will be detowered. So that's a fine logic there. There he towers, that's okay. I might have also responded with snare there instead of a tower. But he's saying, you know what, Q just gated, he can't gate away, so I can always snare whenever. Now that Whisper Arrow I really don't agree with because he had 25 health on his tower. Because he Whisper Bombed, or 30 health, I guess it does 45 now. So I wouldn't have Whisper Arrowed there, I would have snared first, detower him, and then Whisper Arrow when he's not towered. Q makes a nice play. Wayward falls into his snares and detowers after the strike. And he gets a giant Mega off, which is a great play. But we'll see what ends up happening here. A potential play that you guys might not see. Oh. Man, that has to hurt, man. Oh my god. I was just gonna say a potential play that you guys might not see is you knock his ass into snares for a one-hit KO. Let's go, baby. That was sick. My goodness. So he did all that gating around and cat and mouse gameplay, you know. A bank out here, a bank out there, snare here, snare there, blood bank there, drone there, you know. Random comets flying around the map, and then he just gets striked into all those snares. They basically perfectly spawn for Q arc, and then he just aims this strike just slightly above Wayward. Maybe he extended. I think he would extend to launch him into those snares. And 25 damage a snare he's got, or 30 now, I guess. Not 25, I keep saying 25, but it was buffed a bit. So 30 damage a snare, that probably did like, I don't know, 120 or 150. Looks like there were 4 down there. And the strike does 50 damage, so he was under 200, so he, or 200-ish. I don't know, it was close, but that did over 200 damage, I'm pretty sure. And one shot him. And this was like turn, I don't know, 50 or something. This was a super deep, long game, you know, deep into the turns, and you're thinking, oh, this is boring. You know, Q arc had his draw up for so long too, and Wayward didn't take it. And I guess, you know, it bit him in the ass in the end. But crazy game. Hope you guys enjoyed this one-hit KO, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.